What if I told you that the entire financial system as you know it is a scam? All of these buzzwords you hear about investing, long-term savings, compound interest, blah, 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 they're all being used to sell you the idea of becoming rich. But in reality, you just become a part of their system. What they forget to tell you is that when you use these methods, you don't actually become rich until you're old and gray. To some people, this might be fine, but for those of you like me who want financial freedom before you're too old to enjoy your money, this video is for you. By now, I'm sure you've heard every single smart money podcast or finance TikToker tell you that if you just invest $20 a day, you can become a millionaire too. They disguise it as being smart with your money and letting your money work for you. What they forget to tell you is that even if you were to invest $20 a day with compound interest, it will still take you 30 years to become a millionaire. Imagine that, investing $20 a day, 30 years straight. They never tell you that. Let me explain. Let's say we take the S&P 500. For those new to investing, that's a stock market index of 500 of the largest companies in the United States. People usually look at it as a pretty safe and smart investment, and over the last 10 years, it's had an average of 10% annual returns. So let's plug that into a compound interest calculator. If you're investing $20 a day, that's $600 a month, and let's say you invest for 10 years. After 10 years, you'll only have a little over $100,000. Let's add another decade because we have to let compound interest work its magic. So after a total of 20 years of investing $20 a day, you will still only have $400,000. To put that in perspective, let me show you how much one of my businesses has made in the past 12 months. 20 years versus 12 months. How is it that someone could invest $20 a day for 20 years straight, 2 decades, and only have $400,000 to their name? Meanwhile, there are people like me who are making millions of dollars in their 20s. What's the secret? Am I just smarter than everyone else? Should you save your money and buy a house? Should you invest in real estate? That's got to be the secret, right? Well, let's take a look at it. If we're being generous, houses typically appreciate 14% a year. And unless you're paying for it upfront with cash, you'll need to finance it and pay interest on that loan. So that leaves us back at square one. But if we buy a house, it'll take an average of 7 to 10 years for our investment to double. Meaning, unless we buy a house worth $500,000, we're still not going to become a millionaire until decades later. I haven't even gotten to the fun part. Any money you make from your investments still gets taxed when you want to cash it out. On top of that, inflation is burning your money almost as fast as it's growing. Did you know that because of inflation, $100 in 2023 is the equivalent of $28 in 1980? Imagine all of those people who invested and waited 40 years to become a millionaire just to realize that when they finally got their million, it was only worth a fraction of what they originally worked so hard for. So what's the deal? If none of the stuff they actually teach you makes you rich, what will? The truth is, you need an active income, a skill that makes you money. Governments print billions of dollars from thin air, and the only way you're going to be able to fight that is if you can create value out of thin air as well. You have to beat them at their own game, but in order to do that, you have to play their game. Because why is it fair that they can just print a bunch of money and you have to exchange your precious time for it? The answer is, it isn't. That's how they get you. They make you work in exchange for money, which they just print whenever they want. You need a profitable skill. Let me give you an example. Let's say I get really good at one thing. In my case, it was social media marketing. I knew how to help people and businesses make more money on social media. Because I have that skill, I have now created money out of nothing. Information in my head has turned into physical cash, into physical dollars. I was charging businesses thousands of dollars a month because I knew how to press buttons on a computer. The biggest way to escape the system is to learn a profitable skill. When you think about it, this was the whole idea behind getting a college education. You go to school and become competent in a skill like engineering, science, you become a doctor, you become a lawyer, and by the time you're finished, you can start making a ton of money. Unfortunately, like anything, greedy people in the system made it about the money. And they started adding random things like English or arts. Who wants to major in English or arts? Who wants to get a degree in that? Why in the world would I need to major in English when I know how to speak English? How would that help me make any money at all? Whereas engineers and scientists can build rocket ships and internet and other technology, what does a degree in English do for you? I'll tell you what it does for you. It gets you a job that pays you $40,000 a year, wasting your life working for someone else. Taking phone calls for someone that makes 10 times more than you because they decided to learn a skill and start a business. Think about it like this. If you have a job and inflation goes up by 5% that year, just to give you an idea, in 2022, inflation went up by 8%. You are now making 5% less to do the same job you were a year ago. Guess what business owners do when this happens? They just raise their prices. They don't feel any pain. They make the same amount. You know who this affects the most? You, the person with the job, the person who has faith in the system. And this cycle of inflation and prices going up just repeats itself until eventually you're practically getting paid nothing. You're left working just to be able to afford a place to sleep and some food, just so you can rest before you go to work again the next day. You know what another term for that is? Slavery. Think about it. Even when it comes to the good food, they make it more expensive so the people who don't have money can't even eat it. They're stuck eating whatever they can afford with the little money they have. They're stuck in this cycle. If this doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. If the idea of living the rest of your life working for someone else, being a slave, while they get all the rewards of your hard work doesn't send chills down your spine, then maybe you deserve to be in that position. The system is broken. It's meant to trap you. You can't save your way out of it. You can't invest your way out of it as much as they would like to tell you that you can. The only way to get out is to make more money. And how do you do that? You learn a profitable skill. You don't need to get it from a college or university. You have the internet. You have YouTube. You have something I like to call Google University. All of the world's information at your fingertips. And yet you choose to be a slave to a job for the rest of your life. You have to wake up and see what's happening before it's too late. Hopefully this message gets to you in time. Love you guys.